Episode 25 uploaded and coming at you. I'm Ken Rudolph here, Horse Race Bets. Let's get down to business as we had a really interesting weekend of Kentucky Derby prep races. I don't know what we learned, but let's get into it. Cole Battle. That's a really nice horse. Much respect to the connections there. Did a great job winning the Rebel with a really nice move from off the pace. Nice little turn of foot there in the lane, and eventually able to push past your speed. Now, the speed is the question here. I said this, and I think everybody knew this. Bob Baffert sent Madaket Road, who's probably maybe his fifth or sixth best three-year-old thus far trying to make it into the Kentucky Derby. And he put Irad Ortiz Jr. on the horse, and I said I had a really good feeling that Irad was going to gun. And he did that, and he gunned out of the gate, and he basically took this other speed out of the race. Speed King had no chance to go with him. Smokin' Wicked, the sprinter stretching out, tried to go with him. Innovator tried to go with him. All of them could not hang. He went 22 and change for the opening quarter, 45 for the half. That's a little too fast for that particular level, but we knew he was going to do that because he probably thought the same thing that I think, that speed wasn't real. That speed was kind of cheap speed. So he immediately ripped their hearts out. Now, when he does that, he does set up a pace to run into. So the closers had something. Cole Battle, they made the move first, and that was smart. They got the jump on the closers because then Sandman and Tistastic was in their. Publisher was the runner that was really more impressive. Tistastic not so much, but Sandman made that move and still couldn't get past Madaket Road. So what I love about having Bob Baffert 3-year-olds is that he is going to put them to the test, and he is going to challenge you. Unless his horse breaks horribly like Gaming did in the Southwest, Bob Baffert horses are always going to be on the lead. And it's true speed, not cheap speed. True speed. But I digress. Cole Battle, really, really good horse. Can this horse win the Kentucky Derby? In my opinion, well, yeah, sure. But I'm not going to pick him. I just don't think he's classy enough. But I like the way he competes, and I think he's going to make an interesting move in the stretch. I just don't think he's good enough to win the race. Now, in the other prep race that took place, it was the Battaglia Memorial, and that took place at Turfway Park. And I said before, I didn't think you were going to find a Kentucky Derby winner in this particular race, but California Burrito did a great job getting out there on the front end, and then you had to hold off my horse, Baby Max, who did a great job making that move like he always does, came up next to him, but California Burrito didn't really have much pressure early on, so he had something left in the tank. He put that to good use. He won the race. He gets 20 points along the Kentucky Derby qualifying trail. I don't see California Burrito being a factor either, although people will tell you, hey, don't forget about Rich Strike. He came out of that circuit. You're right. But Rich Strike had already proven that he could run over the surface at Churchill Downs. And so that, I think, coupled with the conditioning and running in some pretty tough races at Turfway Park and nice pedigree, put all that together, and I think that put him in position to be ready to go on Derby Day. After that, you need a whole lot of luck, and they got that. So you can always find a Derby runner no matter where. It just depends upon the horse, right, and how they're being trained. So we got to move forward now because we go from California Burrito winning the Battaglia. He's going to earn 20 points. After those prep races, we now take another look at our Derby top 5, and we're going to make a move here. And the move we're making is interesting. Tistastic was a horse that we had moved up into the list last week. He ran 5th in the Rebel. And the problem with his 5th place finish was he didn't do anything special. There was never really a moment during the race where you're like, oh, Tistastic is in the mix here. No, he was always just kind of, and then when everything opened up and it was time to run, he had saved some ground, ducked down to the rail. He had nothing to offer. Nothing. But there's another horse that I thought was far more interesting. And he is going to be added. I just said his name, and he's... There's something about this horse. There's something about this horse. This horse's name is Publisher. And he's going to be the number 5 on my Kentucky Derby top 5. Here's the thing that's really interesting about Publisher. Publisher is still a maiden. But there's something about this horse. I don't know what it is, but he's a fighter. He likes to make a move. And I think what happened in the Rebel, the reason why I like that fourth place finish. So even though he's a maiden, he'd always run second and third, and the move he always made was interesting. And in most of those cases, he couldn't get to the horse that had controlled the pace and had something left. So he couldn't really get to kind of lone speed that had slowed things down on the front end. Well, in the Rebel, he got a pace to run at. But there are some traffic issues. But what I like about this, first off, I like that Steve Asmussen has been training this horse, and he obviously thinks this horse has something to offer. He put the horse in the I want to say the Southwest, and then he put the horse in the Rebel. And when he put the horse in the Southwest, the horse had a horrible trip, Publisher. He got bumped with Gaming on the break, and they both broke horribly. And then when it was time for him to make his run, he came up the rail, and American Promise was the number 8 horse in that race. He backed up right in front of him, and he stopped. American Promise ended up being disqualified, and Publisher got put up ahead of him to be 6th in the Southwest. I like that performance, and what I really like what Steve Asmussen did was he brought him right back in the Rebel, and he switched jockeys. Eric Asmussen did a decent enough job helping this horse get an education, but in big races like this, I need a big-time jockey. Flavien Prat picked up the mount, and I think that was a difference. And what I really like about what Publisher did, when he turned for home in the stretch of the Rebel, that speed that I talked about, that was useless. So Innovator, Smokin' Wicked, and Speed King, all 3 of them backed up, and they were just clogging up the lane, turning for home. Publisher went right in between those horses, got bumped, and just kept on going. He went right through that hole of those 3 horses that were backing up. I love that move. That shows me this is a horse that is not going to be bothered by traffic. The only question is he good enough? Because he's had opportunities in his maiden races to win, and he couldn't push by. But I think he's going to get what he wants if he can get into the Kentucky Derby. I think he'll get pace to run at. I think the horse is being conditioned very well. I think he'll be ultra fit if he can get into the gate. And if he gets into the gate, I'm trying to tell you right now, Publisher reminds me of a horse from back in the day by the name of Giacomo. Giacomo broke his maiden, then he couldn't beat any of the other horses in the prep races, but he kept coming. You could see him in every prep race. You can go all the way back to the 2004 Hollywood Futurity, the old grade 1 event there for 2-year-olds. He's making his move, and he can't quite get to Declan's Moon. Okay, Declan Moon is a good sprinter that was stretching out. Then in the Santa Anita Derby, he's running behind, can't remember who wins that race. I want to say maybe Bullard's Bay wins that race. And he's trying to get to these horses in the stretch. He ends up being 4th. He saves enough money or earns enough money to get into the gate. But you could see he was always making a move. He just needed the pace scenario. Publisher is the same kind of horse. I think he has the exact same running style. I think he's going to get a great ride from his jockey. Let's just hope he's good enough on that day. Publisher will be a major, major price if he gets into the gate for the Kentucky Derby. You see the rest of my runners there. Disco Time, still like that horse to see what happens when he comes back. Burnham Square got a big matchup this weekend. Barnes, well, also a big challenge this weekend. Citizen Bull sitting there just chilling. We'll see him coming up in the Santa Anita Derby. Speaking of those challenges coming up this weekend, 3 Kentucky Derby prep races coming your way. The Gotham will be in New York. The Fountain of Youth will be at Gulfstream Park in Florida. And the San Felipe will be at Santa Anita. And that's coming up this weekend. Let's take a quick look at what's coming your way in terms of the Gotham. All right, so the Gotham this week is probably the best betting race, but the worst race as far as implications for the Kentucky Derby. Why? It's the best betting race because there's a field of 10 runners thus far. It's the worst as far as implications for the Derby because they're only running 1 turn mile. That's not going to get it done. But it's an interesting field of runners. And the only one that I'm thinking about early on is the number 3 on this list, Calling Card. Calling Card, I think, is very interesting. He's got a lot of 2-turn experience. But when he broke his maiden going 1 turn at Aqueduct, it was ridiculous. He won by 17 lengths. It was so impressive. There's something there with that horse. And we'll see if he gets anything to run at. He's got a couple of speed horses there and a couple of sprinters stretching out. We'll see if they give him just enough of a target. And of course, that's going to be 50 points along the road to the Kentucky Derby for the winner of the Grade 3 Gotham coming your way this weekend, Saturday at Aqueduct. That's one of 3 prep races coming your way. We'll dig deeper into the Gotham coming up on our next show. But he's definitely Calling Card. Is definitely the horse to look at in that race coming your way. All right, that gets you set here. Episode number 25 comes to an end. In the meantime and in between time, and until next time, I'm Ken Rudulph. We'll see you here on Horse Race Bets. Good luck and enjoy whatever you are into. Don't forget, hey, there's a great card at Oaklawn Park here on this Monday. You're going to want to play that. Great card of racing with a really nice looking late pick 5 and pick 4 sequence there. All right, good luck and enjoy.